What's up, everybody? We've got so much energy going on in the show tonight. Mark and Apollo and I were just talking about how hyped, how much energy we've got, how much we're gonna bring it on this show tonight, and I cannot wait. This is episode 131 of Hotline League. If you weren't paying attention, either way, I'm joined, of course, by my constant co-host Mark Zimmerman. How's it going, Mark?
It's going pretty good. Something kind of cool happened this weekend, but I'm not allowed to tell anyone.
Like, who's stopping you from telling anybody?
I'm stopping myself from telling anyone.
You're not allowed to tell anyone based off of... So, is that really an allowance? Like, you're not allowing yourself to tell anybody?
Yeah.
Now I just feel teased a little bit.
One day, hopefully.
People are saying my mic is having issues. That's weird. I will try to figure out why that is.
Sound fine, at least to us.
Yeah.
Well,
At least to us on Discord, you sound good.
I don't know what's going on then. Either way, Apollo is also here. Welcome to the show, Apollo.
Thank you. I guess the last time I was here was on Clutch? Yeah, I was on Clutch, I think, last time I was here.
Oh, really?
So good to be back, yeah.
Yeah, well, welcome back. It's good to have you here after a very interesting weekend for Immortals. I'm hoping you can help me understand what happened.
Yeah, no, I really barely understand it, but we tried to forget about what happened Friday, and then Sunday happened and we were a brand new team, and we decided we should try to win the game instead of falling over and dying. So
I liked your
what we
old
did.
strategy of playing it really, really, really close until the last second. And
Yeah.
then-
No, yeah, that's kind of what we did, except for we won this time. I mean, I'll be honest, I think most of us were having some flashbacks when Aphelios actually killed us towards the end of the TSM game. So I was sweating a little bit, but I'm glad we closed it out.
So we have to squash the beef, get the elephant out of the room right away.
Mm-hmm.
About a week or two ago on Hotline League, we were talking with, I think it was Golden Glue, about players in the LCS who have been around a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and who going down to Academy and coming back up, should they be there and whatnot. And Travis's example was Apollo Price.
That was his example. Wow. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, Travis, if you feel like I'm misrepresenting you, feel free to jump in.
I do feel like you're misrepresenting me. I feel like you're dramatically misrepresenting me.
Here's what it is. He said he picked you because he knew that you would not come after him on Twitter.
So here's what I said. I said that, especially lately, the community is very frustrated that we see a lot of the same faces in the LCS, and specifically faces that have been around for a long time but haven't made a finals or whatever. And I said that you were an example of the type of person who I think the community would be you were the safest option for me to list, because if I had said Froggen, then the Froggen fans go crazy and Froggen gets angry at me, or Meteos, or...
Whoa, are you saying Apollo doesn't have any fans, dude? What the fuck?
I'm saying Apollo's fans are nice and polite, and Apollo is also nice and polite.
I feel like we're just trying to make Travis title headlines, right now,
Yeah,
just to get back at you. I mean, dude. Well, first off, you're not necessarily wrong. I'm sure there's a lot of people, and I do see a lot of comments already, that have been, the same player for X amount of years or whatever, and they want to have talent move up. But there are reasons why I'm still here, right? It's not like I'm paying them off, you know what I mean? It's if these guys can't compete, if they're not better than me, then I'm gonna keep playing. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot that comes in with experience, and which is why players like me are still here, is because we actually we're more than just we're more than just raw talent and raw mechanical skill at this point, right? We've provided a lot of experience, a lot of ways to teach other players and teach new players. So to the people that really want me gone, I'm sorry. Tell your amateur players, tell your academy players to get better, and then they can kick me off the team. It's fine.
They should replace you.
Yeah,
you want me wrong? Come take my job from me.
Yeah,
is
take
I think
my
what
job.
You should say.
I'm not like doing anything special. I'm still here, so you guys got to work a little harder than that.
Well, excited to see if we can keep this trend up of just having players that have been around for a long time come on Hotline League and defend themselves against the masses, because now we've done this 2 weeks in a
Well,
row.
I have to defend myself against you, apparently. It's not just the masses, Travis.
By the way, I forgot to mention at the start of the show, sponsored by Alienware. We'll be talking about them in a little bit beyond that. But now we've got the beef out of the way. Mark, anything interesting happened for you in the past week besides the thing you can't talk about? Congratulations, by the way. I'm excited for you.
I got a haircut.
The reveal.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I
wow,
definitely
that
did
was
not.
very...
I did not expect it to be so long still.
So I ordered a thing. Ashley just did the sides, and then she was like, "Hey, I kind of like leaving it long." And I was like, "All right, fine, whatever." And I totally look just like a fuckboy now.
Is it Aphelios kind of has that thing?
Yeah, it's the typical like kind of like undercut thing with the long top. I don't know what any hairstyles are called, but it's the typical like post-hardcore scenester kind of haircut.
200 years haircut.
200
That's what Twitch chat says. Okay. Anyway.
There you go. The hat will probably go back on a little bit because the
well, you know what I really like about you and I were talking earlier today, and you said you like podcasts that where people are able to talk a little bit about their personal lives so that people can connect with them. And it's very clear that with this show we have so many exciting things happening in our personal lives during quarantine that you know, it's just people. There's so much for people to connect with us on.
Yeah, barbershops just closed down in LA again. They're finally putting us back in quarantine. So, but I'm sure a lot of people are going to have a similar story to this pretty soon if you live in LA.
Yeah. You and I had lunch this morning or this afternoon, and that was quite nice. That was a thing that we did.
That's true.
We talked about Brandon Sanderson stuff and my impending book YouTube channel when I finally get around to it.
Yeah. It's a very interesting date.
All right, whatever. Anyway, Apollo, how are you doing? What's been going on in your life? Anything outside of League in the past week that's been exciting to talk about?
I don't think so. I mean, it's been a struggle, really. Just it's all kind of revolved around League. I don't really think I have anything exciting. I've been watching like some shows, I guess, but
what show? What show? Please give me anything.
Okay, let's see. I watched. Wait, can I go to Netflix real quick? 1 second.
Oh my god.
Oh no, I
God.
was watching Doom Patrol on HBO. I thought it was gonna be like really corny, but it actually turned out not being bad. And I think I was watching something else, but now I kind of forgot. Yeah, that's all I got so far in terms of my
Well, it's
my
just
life.
you know, I
outside
tried to find a way for people to connect with us as humans, and then I just realized we're the most boring people in the world. So
Yeah, that's true.
let's talk about League of Legends before we get into calls. So the first call will be Slasher. He has requested that he call on to talk about like the world's stuff that got, I don't know, leaked or discussed with China planning on canceling all their sporting events, and then the supposed rumor that we'll see China host Worlds 2 years in a row. The U.S. will never host Worlds again, seemingly, and that they're going to try to do like an NBA style bubble. So we'll have him on in a little bit to talk about that. And I have limited his. Slasher likes to talk for long periods of time and go on rants, so I've given him a time limit. But before we get into that, this past weekend was upset weekend. Tons of crazy cool shit happened. I mean, everybody was hyping TSM as the second best team in the league, and then you guys showed up and decided that you wanted to like end all that conversation. And I mean, how much of that was just like TSM sucking that game versus you guys really rising the challenge? I'm curious.
I mean, I definitely think it's a little bit of both, right? Like, I think if you just watching our dig game, we clearly weren't very good, and I think our draft was really bad. So we kind of had like a little bit of like adjustments that needed to be made. And so going into the TSM game, I felt like we're kind of more prepared. Like first off, we got to see TSM draft, which is kind of important, right? And then we kind of fixed our draft, and they really botched their draft, in my opinion. I think Hello was a big part of it. They had like a full do nothing comp with Zillion Trundle TK. Like that's an absolute like you don't do anything and you wait for Aphelios to hopefully 1v5 the game. Which if they saw our previous games, I totally understand why they would think that would happen. But we actually were proactive. You know, we got every single objective. They tried to contest some of them, but it was like very half-assed. Like I think a good example is when we went to Herald, the first Herald. Like we just moved and like they like kind of moved and then they try to fight 4v5 and that's like that's how you start losing games, right? That's how you give you up pressure because you try to fight something where you clearly can't. And then we just snowballed from there and then we almost lost or we almost like threw, but I think our comp was too good and their comp was just really subpar. I'm comparing those two because it felt like we kind of made a similar mistake when we were blue side. Like we had, kind of a shitty comp. So
Yeah. Mark,
Yeah.
what were I mean, if you have any thoughts on that, but if not, what were your big moments of the weekend? Obviously, C9 losing their win streak to 100T was a big one, but I don't know if that's like the big highlight for you, if there were any others that were really exciting, considering we just saw mostly upsets.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to see Dignitas doing better. I was already getting a little bit warmed up to Immortals after last weekend. CLG and Golden Guardians are still a little like, ooh, I don't know what's going on. FlyQuest and EG and TSM all went 0-2, which were the teams that were all kind of competing for second. So it's kind of left TL as the clear second place team now, you would argue. But even they...
But most people, I feel like, don't think TSM or TL is the second best team in the league.
Yeah, I understand the reservations why. I mean, I'd be excited to hear what Apollo has to say. And I think like they don't make very many mistakes, but they're also one of the least proactive teams in terms of kills and assists at 15, combined kills per minute, average game time and wins. Like they're just generally slow. And especially for longtime fans in North America, the amount of times we've had like a first place team that is just like generally good, but not like pushing the envelope like C9 does these days. Like I think a lot of teams are people are just kind of like, not this again.
Apollo.
Yeah, I think that was the reason why people were a very big fan of how TSM was performing because it did feel like they were very proactive. You saw Bjergsen be able to play like a lot of different mid lane champions and have like effectiveness on the map, and they even played towards top side as well as bot side. So it kind of showed that they were a little more versatile than like TL. They were pretty slow, like Mark said. Like they play for team fighting, and I think that's kind of why we were even able to kind of compete with them. I don't think we were a better team or I didn't feel like we were going to be a better team than TL going into them, right? Playing against them, but matching evenly because they were playing so slow, so methodically. All it came down to were just like fights and like how you played them, and I don't think that's necessarily a good way to show that you're better than the other team. Like that's just basically saying, hey guys, we're gonna have like 5-on-5 fights. Whoever chose the better comp is gonna win, or whoever has better hands is gonna win. But most of the time it's more like comp oriented rather than like mechanical skill. So I wish I could say like I don't know who the second best team is, and I don't want to kind of say a Sven quote where like there's a clear answer because I'm not that confident to say that, and I haven't played enough teams to say that either. I am a little bit sad that FlyQuest are like underperforming because I thought they had like a really big rise and everyone was performing really well, and I still feel like they're close, I felt like they're still at that level, but maybe they're just making too many mistakes right now. I'm not really sure what's going on, but that's the only team that I saw was like I felt like they were very proactive, and then something kind of happened, and then now they're a little bit boom.
Yeah. Well, the other update before we get into our first call, it's just the broadcast. We didn't talk about the broadcast, I think, last week, but the antics continued in week 5, and there were 2 Reddit threads that
There's 3 technically. There's also the one about the overlay again.
Oh yeah. Well, the overlay thing, people need to get over that. I have a hard time caring about the overlay, and people I think care way too much.
Apollo, thumbs up, thumbs down overlay. Just weigh in real quick. Or thumb sideways. I'll even take thumb sideways.
Yeah, I'll do thumb sideways because it's like I kind of like the new aesthetic, but they need to fix some things. So I'm not really complaining too much.
Yeah, I think
Like
having gold
they'll
in the
do it
middle
over
is
time.
still
You
the
know what I mean?
best. But
They'll change things over time. Like it's fine. Like,
so the two threads, there was one, and it's great because Mark and I talked a little bit over lunch about it, but I'm curious how much he's gonna say now that we're on air. So the first one was about basically like the equivalent of my uncle is Riot. It was like,
All right, no, let's not start with that one because that's gonna make me sound negative. So start with the other one,
Okay.
the AD segment one.
Okay, I just feel like it's better to finish on the second one because I actually think it's stronger.
I like this. I like starting with the one that like I'm not going to disagree with, so I don't sound like a
Yeah.
biased person right off the gate.
So I think the Reddit threads have generally been, like I did a video talking about what I think are a lot of really big systemic issues on the broadcast. I did this like week 2 or something like that. People can go back and look at it. But on the whole, I tend to think like Reddit really overreacts, on everything. Like I think maybe the issues are like a 7 out of 10, and Reddit would tell you they're a 12 out of 10. It's just like it's literally the end of the world. So I tend to go into these Reddit threads skeptically. There was a Reddit thread that was basically like the analyst desk the countdown is kind of pointless because they just repeat everything they say on the countdown in the main show. And they literally did this individual did like a timestamp comparison of like, okay, watch at this point in this video and this point in this video. And it's like, I don't know if anybody ever saw that thing where like the Sinclair news broadcast thing had you could see all the different outlets all say the exact same thing over and over again, but like in slightly different ways. It was basically like that. I was like, this can't be true. And I go and click it, and it's like, wow, they're just saying the same shit they said like a couple hours ago all over again. And it just like, okay, from my perspective, it's like, okay, you are the broadcast. You know that you are getting flamed consistently. So it is difficult for me to think, I know what we will do. We will just copy pasta the countdown segment into the later part of the show. Thanks, guys. Let's go get sandwiches where we can cut out of this meeting early. And so that it's just that was a really hard Reddit thread for me to like try to give any benefit of the doubt or whatever. So I guess, Mark, I'll just ask you like. Here, I will ask you questions that you can answer. That way you are not put on the spot.
Yeah, I also have a bit of a preamble, too, I can shoot out there.
Okay, say the preamble.
I mean, like, so I can't say what I agree with public. I can say it's weird, this situation. I can say what I disagree with publicly pretty easily and not need to worry about stepping on any toes. I cannot say what, feedback I might agree with, if any, in the Reddit threads and stuff, because then I'm kind of publicly corroborating, and even if the public doesn't know the people who are making certain decisions or like anything like that, then I'm sort of like dogpiling on, which I shouldn't do. Technically I probably could, I just shouldn't do. It's not a professional thing to do. So I can't really say like if I agree with any certain particular piece of feedback.
Oh, did we lose Mark? Apollo, you're still here, right? You can hear me?
I am still here. Yeah, he
Riot got to him. He was about to start talking.
He was just about to talk.
And then they pulled him off.
We almost got him, guys.
Oh my god, that's unbelievable. All right, you guys saw it here. Riot doesn't want Mark.
I'm back.
Hello.
I can't say what happened because we're sponsored by the thing that it happened to.
That's fine. We'll talk about it later. But
Skype, give me a second.
Yeah, it's fine. Apollo, what are your thoughts on the broadcast while Mark is getting set back up?
Well, it's kind of a hard question for me because I don't really watch the broadcast too much, like I'll tune in, but I'll either have them muted. Yeah, I'll just have them muted a lot of the times. So I feel like, but I did kind of see a little bit of that Reddit thread. I mean, even just hearing it from you, right? I think it's a little bit silly. I don't think, that's kind of lazy, I guess, to do. Well, I don't know if that lazy is the right word, but I can see a problem with that, right? Like,
Yeah.
why repeat? Like, I don't think there's no real good, or I don't think there's a good response to hearing something like that, where you just have, you know, 2 repetitive segments, which is maybe what Mark can explain to us. But I mean, maybe just do
Okay,
a better
okay, here.
job.
Here, well, so Mark has his disclaimer out there. So I just
Yeah, I'm
want to
just
ask this
saying, like,
question.
I'm back, right? You can
Yes.
hear me?
So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
curious. Here's the question I will ask you, because we
Well,
got
I
your
didn't
disclaimer.
let me finish my disclaimer
Okay, it
first.
was already 5
Okay.
minutes long, but keep going.
It was actually like 1 compared to what you usually do. I just saying I can't publicly say like what I agree with without being unprofessional. So I can only disagree with things publicly. But I read every single Reddit thread that I see, and there's a lot in there that I do agree with, and I think fans give good feedback. Like, generally speaking, I wouldn't say every single thing is on about what's wrong, but at least like one thing I always say is that people are entitled to their opinions, and like they might not know what's broken, but they can say what they don't like. And their ability to diagnose what's broken is going to be bad because they don't fucking work in 1 broadcasting or 2 on the product. We do, so like we can generally know. Like, okay,
Okay.
so that's what I'm saying is I read everything. There's a lot that you don't hear me disagree with, and because I'm not disagreeing by that such situation I just set up, you can infer some of my feelings on it. And I will also say I have had extra meetings every single week that I've been trying to hunt down with different people and different things, and I don't think I've had a single week this split where I've felt satisfied by the end of the week.
Okay, just really quick question. Was it your decision to copy paste that part?
No, I can say that was not my decision.
Okay.
I have a question as well. Do you think, like this situation happening, do you think like the content and the storylines are just getting a little bit stale? Is that why we have this kind of repetition?
Are you
No,
to Apollo's point? Is there so little to talk about on the LCS broadcast that you literally just have to say the exact same thing because you've got nothing else to talk about?
No,
it's fair though.
I think it's, if that's what you're wondering, then I can say no. That's not the problem. I think
okay.
the general opinion on it, and like, don't shoot the messenger here, but the general thought is that not everyone watches Countdown. If you look at the viewership numbers during Countdown, it's anywhere between a quarter to a half the regular viewership that you'll see.
Right.
And so we tend to do a lot of good stuff in Countdown. And if you don't reuse some of it, that's stuff that people will never see, potentially. So if you do a really cool, awesome motion graphic in Countdown, repurposing it to cover again isn't necessarily like intrinsically bad. I would agree with that. Doing the exact same 5-minute block twice is a different thing. But the general idea of some of the reuse of some stuff is that line of logic.
Well, I mean, I think if you guys did some sort of fancy, cool video that you guys aired, or like a funny skit that's like a minute long or whatever, and you air it again before the start of the match that's about, I think that makes a lot of sense. It's just like copy pasting what feels like teleprompter speech it's really hard for me to feel like I don't understand the reasoning behind that decision. Anyway, I don't want to get into the ESPN, my dad's ESPN thread now, because I feel like with the technical issue you had and all this stuff, we've now spent way too much time on this. But
I'll throw two quick points in there.
Okay.
One, this is a classic logical fallacy of appeal to authority. Anyone who's taking any intro to rhetoric and logic or anything like that will understand. This is just like the very basis and crux of this decision to say that this is why the feedback is valid is weak. And even if you did want to follow this line of logic, even if you did believe that just because he worked in broadcasting that he has valuable feedback, well, a bunch of people who work at Riot on this product also have worked at at ESPN in the past, or CNBC, or like all these other places. Like everyone working on this, pretty much all of them have broadcast experience. So if you also want to measure, like, I don't know what this guy's accomplishments are, I would bet that there are some better. Does that mean everything Riot does is good because we've had people who worked at ESPN working on this product? No, clearly not. So just saying as the basis, ESPN, former ESPN, does not make the feedback good. And then honestly, it was the same point repeated 5 times, that who are the analysts, which all of us have credentials. It's just it's like
Yeah, it was
two of us
just
are-
funny because that Reddit thread was literally like, it'd be great if these analyst desk people were like former players or coaches, and like that's all the whole analyst desk, and they repeated that multiple times. So it was just
yeah,
kinda
it's
weird.
like all of
So
us had.
Sorry, is it that Riot thing? Sorry, the ESPN thing you're talking about. That's a different Reddit thread to the
Yes.
one that you guys
Yeah,
were talking
yeah.
about. Okay, I think
Yeah.
I saw that one. It was just talking about like how they wanted, like they compared it to like Shaq and
Yes.
the other guy. I forgot his name.
Charles.
Yeah. And he wanted something like that, right? And then
It
I
was
didn't really
basically
read
he
the
called
rest
us
of that.
talking heads because he didn't realize that we were experts.
Oh, okay. Or like he didn't realize that you at least had background. Like I mean, you guys have Crumb's ex-player, probably ex-coach,
Ex-player and ex-coach. Yeah.
and then you're ex-coach as well. So
Yeah. The only other thing I'll say, which is an interesting point that I don't think people realize, is that in traditional sports, a pro player who retires has very few options that are easily presented to them in terms of career choices, whereas that's not true at all in esports. When a pro player retires in esports, they actually usually have a lot of things to do. Most of them have become streamers that are popular. So like Void,
I don't really agree with that. By the way,
Shifter.
I don't know. I don't think it's like an easy route out of professional.
We're going
playing.
way off topic, guys. We got to get to the calls.
I think streaming is like another avenue, and that's like one avenue.
Yeah, but I'm saying traditional pro players don't even have that. Dom, Shifter, Voy, QD, Expecial, Dyrus, High, Bjergsen, not Bjergsen, excuse me, Reggie. They all in Hotshot all started companies or became streamers, and a lot of them that's a better option than working on a broadcast for a lot of them. And some of the people that people were calling for, like High, we actually did work with him for a while. And Scar, we did work with him for a while before they went off and did other things, because I would say that they probably have slightly better options here. Sneaky as well, as another example, right? Like these are people who go off and do this other option that just straight up doesn't exist in pro sports, which is why the comparison itself is weak. If Shaq could go make millions of dollars sitting in his bedroom, which he probably could, honestly, if he figured out how to do it, but it's less ingrained in the culture of traditional sports.
I mean, I agree with that. I wouldn't want to make it sound like I think both.
It doesn't apply to everyone.
Both avenues are limited, but esports has more for sure because they can do content creation, and in traditional sports, that hasn't really blossomed yet, which is kind of starting to now, I guess, with some athletes, using Twitter and all that stuff and Instagram Live and all that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that pro sports players can do too, but it's a little less natural and ingrained in their thing. Like, not many pro players are doing anything other than taking sponsorships in traditional sports. They don't have their own YouTube channels and stuff.
Right.
Can we take a call?
Yeah, we can move forward.
Yeah, get Rod in here.
Okay. Well, Slasher has not joined any of the Discord channels yet. Oh wait, no,
I
he
pinged
is.
him twice.
Okay, he is there.
I like how Travis brings the topic up.
Do you want to?
And then
I did not
want me to talk about it.
I brought up a topic that we talked about for 20 minutes.
What? No, we didn't.
We started that conversation at 8:20.
No, we didn't. We started the show at 8:10, and then we filled with other shit for 15 more minutes.
I guess the timestamps will reveal which one of us.
We'll check the timestamps.
Rod's in the waiting room. Do you want to go do a tech test with him?
Yeah, sure.
Off he goes. Hey, big shout out to. I promise Mark and I love each other, even if we're bickering tonight. Big shout out to Hammersmith, Yaltz LOL, Ferber2 for gifting 5 subs, Kulas33, Croissant LOL, Nanuko, Joe 4792, Jaffe, Fishsticks44, The Official Bubbles, NASA Internet, ATS0066, and Sexy Edges 1997. Slasher is here. Slasher, where are you calling from?
Outside of Doc's place, camping outside.
Outside of Doc's place. Have you learned anything for us? Do you have any crumbs?
I have my binoculars right on there.
Okay, thanks. Well, let us know when you
go through his
anything.
trash and see if there's any shredded documents.
Anyway,
no, I'm already on that. Travis, I was really enjoying the discussion that Mark and Apollo were having. Your chat was really enjoying the discussion that they were having about casters, and you are trying to push along phone calls to get to me. Fucking, I don't want to listen to me. I'd rather listen to
Great.
Mark and Apollo.
Rod,
talk
I'm glad you said that. We'll go back to what they were talking about. Thanks for coming on the show. It was great having you.
I was going to actually say two things. One, that discussion Reddit thread, you're talking about inside the NBA, which is like one of the best, or might be the very best sports broadcast in the world of any sport. So you're trying to compare like the potential inside the NBA is the potential best sports broadcast desk, ever for any of the sports. That's really hard to live up to. And I was wondering, did Ariel Horn, was he the main producer for NALCS before?
So I'm not 100% certain. I know he was there when they were spinning all of it up and doing a lot of the initial stuff. I don't know when.
He only left from last year.
Yeah, I have no idea the timeline. I know he's doing Ven now, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he spun everything up and hired a lot of people and was kind of the executive producer of like international events and the leagues in the beginning, and then I think over time handed it off to other people who were managing them on like more of a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. So
I'm just asking, how did we get to the point where LEC is now the better produced league?
I mean,
did something internally change with the
things that so LEC got a bunch of new awesome people, like Romaine is over there and several other people that I think just made stuff happen, and then they did a really good job of finding talent and building that talent up so that they can be really good, and then they give them a ton of great creative opportunities. And I don't think the LCS has evolved at all in the past couple of years. So
it's not just the talent, though. Some of this is the direction and the production of what is going on. That is part of the issues or the problems that people are complaining about. It feels like it's not just like people on the air.
It's both, because the people I don't think you're going to do this, but you can go look at my Dracos interview or my Shocks interviews that I did recently, where they talk a lot about how involved they are in the broadcast and creating the content. Kobe closing his door right now because he doesn't want to hear this stuff. And it's really, you can tell that a lot of this, I'm sure there are a ton of really remarkable people that work behind the scenes at the LEC, but like you can tell that a lot of the creative ideas come from the broadcast talent. So that's like definitely one of the big things that LEC does well.
Well, Mark, why don't you get better, huh?
I mean, if anyone's ever followed my career, I have produced a fair amount of popular content. This little thing called Offline TV, I helped get off the ground.
Oh yeah, this little thing, huh?
Yeah, that little thing.
Slasher, what did you want to talk about on this goddamn show?
I thought personally the biggest news of the week is that fucking Worlds is rumored and sourced to be canceled for North America last year. We're going to have an entire system that is, supposedly Riot's going to try to make it an NBA bubble format, which we're seeing insane things in terms of content already happen in the NBA, and China gets it next year. To me, that was the biggest league story of the week. Now you're talking about the fucking production problems and this week's
we knew
LCS
that you were going to be the
whatever.
first call and you were going to talk about this, so we did talk about it a ton before you got on the show.
I was just saying, I thought the conversation between Mark and Apollo Price was so good, and you should not have called me. I just wanted to fill in. So I figured some follow-up questions would be very useful. You're welcome, Travis. You're welcome.
So, anyway,
yes. So about this,
take on
I want to hear what you guys think about all of this too. There's a lot of moving parts in all of this. I want to take some credit. I got this story totally wrong by tweeting that it was probably going to be canceled, but because I got it totally wrong, that actually forced Riot to that forced ESPN, the journalist over there. It was probably Jacob. On the story, it only said ESPN staff. It didn't actually say who the journalists were. I'm going to assume Jacob probably did some research, and that forced Riot to come out with this plan that they are working on trying to make. Honestly, it sounds amazing. I think the NBA bubble format is already an incredible idea for content that we've seen so far, and if Riot can make this shit work, please do. I really have no idea how international teams are going to fly to China in the middle of COVID outbreak, which is only now increasing cases here in America. America's totally fucked. And they've even had to shut down Hong Kong things today, like Disney. because of increasing coronavirus cases. If this is going to be happening, I have no idea how even teams would fly in to do a bubble format, even if it is in one city of
Okay.
Shanghai.
So a couple things. Apollo, do you know what he means whenever he's talking about the NBA bubble format?
No, but I think isn't it just like they get there and they're like quarantined for like 2 weeks or something?
Mhm.
But is that
Well,
it?
a
I
longer
don't know what
period of time.
else.
It's a longer
It's a
period
much
of time.
longer
It's
period.
like a month or two, right?
Oh.
Well, yeah, all of the NBA players, like, they can't go out. Like, one NBA player today got suspended not suspended, but he has to be quarantined for 10 days because he met the delivery guy outside of, like, the intended area of the hotel. And they've automatically already putting him in quarantine in 10 days. So you can't, like, leave certain parameters when you go there, and you get tested all the time. At least that's what's happening in the NBA. The NBA is also much bigger organization than, like, Worlds is. But if they do it in a similar manner, I do think it would be really kind of cool in terms of a content point of view. It would be really cool.
I mean, it'd be cool, but I feel like it's going to be so hard to have all those teams fly out to China, especially since it's getting worse, and I don't think it's going to get much better by the time Worlds comes around. Maybe I can be more optimistic, but it's hard for me to think like, you have people flying from all over the world and they're all, having the same issues. I guess America is probably the worst right now. The United States is the worst right now, but I mean, it'd be cool. I just don't know if it's actually possible.
I mean, I think so. One of the to Apollo's point, like the NBA bubble thing is so different because you have a bunch of people domestically flying to one state, flying all these people in from like international places where you've got different rules and laws and all that stuff. Like whatever happens, I feel as though Tencent and like if this happens, it is going to be Tencent and China like figuring out so much of this stuff and making so many exceptions and doing all this crazy shit to make it happen. And I totally believe that this will happen because what a lot of people might not know is that Worlds this year was the 10th anniversary, or is going to be the 10th anniversary, and they were planning like crazy shit because and that's part of the reason it was going to be in China, because we all know that China has like it's the most insane, intense, crazy League of Legends ecosystem. They already have all these different studios in different cities, and people are geolocated and all that stuff, or the teams are geolocated, and so they were going to do a ton of crazy stuff. So it doesn't surprise me that this could potentially happen, because very clearly, like, there was a lot of conversations already happening, I would assume, with the government over there to make all this big stuff occur. And it doesn't surprise me that then, because they had all these big plans and they were going to do all this big stuff, that now that they can't do it, and the best we can hope for is like a bubble situation, supposedly, that they would then give it to China next year so that they could do all the same stuff again, or all the stuff that they want to do this year, next year.
What do you think about that aspect?
I mean, I think it sucks, but like, it's hard to fault them, right? Like, what is the better option? Is to say, sorry, like all the crazy stuff that you want to do to like grow the sport in your region and all the big plans that you had and all that stuff, for what is this? We're now not going to let you do that because we really need to hold Worlds in the least important of the top 4 regions, like the least performing and the one with the smallest audience and the one that is like least developed as an ecosystem, right?
Okay, no, but here's what I look at it from the best case scenario is that, one, you are totally right, and that Tencent and the Chinese government do this insane exception on all of this for the reason that this is going to be happening, and work with Riot to make sure this is the only event that is going to work. And they are able to pull off the bubble inside of Shanghai. So what if they're somehow able to pull this off and get all the teams to agree, which I agree with you. I don't see that happening. And they're able to put on a several week and or month event in Shanghai with a shit ton of content, just like what's end up happening from the NBA bubble.
Are you saying that should be enough? Like, we shouldn't have to, like, China shouldn't have it for 2 years in a row?
If they're getting all that, do they really? I mean, I understand it not being across all the cities of China that would have had it if the pandemic wouldn't be here. But considering the origin of
Yeah, I think it's going to be wild.
The pandemic to begin with, and the whole political nature of Riot being owned by 100% by Tencent. Does China really? Should they? Why not? Why doesn't it be North America for 2021 and then go to China in 2022? Why does North America have to get delayed a whole
because
full
we
year
just
for China
don't
to
matter
get to?
as much is the problem. Like, it would be one thing if we were like nearly as competitive, if we had nearly the audience, if our like
Don't you think from last year's playoffs that NA, this is like one of the best times that you could have Worlds in NA?
sorry, based off of what?
Like, do you guys not think, based off of last year and like, you know, the Western teams going far, and now that builds into,
I mean, I
don't
think
know how
that's an
much that will
incentive to
actually
have it
build
in
into
Europe.
this year?
Yeah,
It's not-
the Europe.
I don't look
Europe
at
Europe has been like improving over the past few years. They're like the star child, you know, like of the Western regions, and then there's like North America that's barely gripping on with one team, and then they just lose.
we
How
can't
long has
even
it
put
been
a good
since NA?
broadcast together. Slasher, do you want us to host Worlds?
Dude, I get you, and you know me. I'm no person that has to defend NA. How long has it been since NA had Worlds?
It's been a very long time. 2016, I think.
You know, I mean, I understand it all happening. It just feels not great considering Riot being
100%.
owned by Tencent and making all this happen, and then maybe they get the bubble, and then also a full next year.
100% it feels bad. I mean, you aren't going to make. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, it feels great to have this happen. Like, I am looking at like falling interest in the LCS. I mean, Riot says their numbers are up viewership wise, but like everything, I feel like it's like the community is pretty negative on the direction of the league and the performance of our teams and
Are the numbers
brands
up,
of the
though?
players. I mean, Riot would tell you they are, and I don't think
Yeah,
anybody else
you're
has
not
done
Riot,
enough.
okay.
I know. Well, I don't have like the
Are
problem
you
is
watching the games, Travis?
I am watching the games, but the numbers have gotten way more obfuscated now because it's on, like, it used to be YouTube was a tiny percentage of the viewership. Now they have like 50-50, plus you have co-streams that like make it really difficult. So I don't know if they're up or not. The problem is like somebody could go out there and do a pretty big investigation into this stuff, like looking at other numbers and all that stuff and try to corroborate it with other sources besides Riot's to tell you. But anyway, all I'm just saying is like it feels really bad to not have League Worlds in the US again if that ends up happening. I'm not happy about it. I just like I don't have a good argument for why it should happen. Like
I feel like, you know, China getting 2021, if Worlds is fully canceled, makes a ton of sense. But if they're able to pull off the bubble, that concession,
I just think
to
the bubble
me
is such a like it's so small time compared to what you would actually expect.
Of course. And
There's
they're
not
not,
gonna
and
be-
even
yeah.
if they do, there's not gonna be fans either.
Right, exactly.
sure.
Like this is gonna feel, and it's gonna feel worse than it feels to see LCS go from the studio into like bedrooms. It's yeah. I don't know. Mark and Apollo, Slasher and I just talk back and forth a ton. I don't know if you guys have any opinions on this stuff.
No, I totally respect when you want to take time to talk about a topic. I totally respect it. I never hurry you along.
Mark, do you have an opinion?
Yeah,
on
what do you
this
think,
at all?
Mark? Yeah, what,
I think China getting extra love or whatever you want to call it for being China is totally fine. They're the biggest market. They're the best region. There's like a lot of reasons to do it. The only thing I'd be hesitant about is like getting to that kind of negative feedback loop that you like sometimes get into when one thing is less important. So you kind of put it on the back burner and you keep it on the back burner. And because it's less important, less people care. And it gets into this like self-fulfilling prophecy that'll never get put back on the front burner because it just becomes shit. This is kind of what happened with fantasy. If to make a parallel in North America, like not enough people played for them to fix it, and because they never fixed it, no one played until the point where it just died. You know, and like I wouldn't want that to happen to North America in terms of like Worlds and like getting international events. But I totally understand why we're not high on the pecking order.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there. I mean, the biggest concern I have is like I feel like the damage to a region is less of a hey, we can't host it, and more of a time zone thing. Like so many international events have been in bad time zones for the US lately that I just like it would feel bad if two Worlds back to back The time zones are not great, and I don't think they are from China. I need to double check, but I'm pretty sure they are not, based off of my recollection before. So I don't know. It definitely, like, none of this is good news. But honestly, looking at the way in which we have handled, it is hard for me to be beating my chest proud to it's being as like America deserves all this great shit right now, because like god damn, it is just embarrassing.
Who
right
needs
now.
a second wave when you have a horrible first wave?
Yeah.
You know.
Yes, exactly.
True.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please,
all right.
please wear a mask.
Slasher, anything you want to... Oh, by the way, Slasher, did you see AOC tweeted about League again?
No, did she?
She hit Silver 3 during quarantine.
That is
nice.
very, very cool. Gotta love AOC.
She
so
says,
you gotta get in touch.
Right-wing Twitter is child's play compared to enting 13-year-olds in
Not
Queue.
wrong.
That's what she said.
She is not wrong.
Anyway,
I'm gonna retweet that shit.
we got to take a break, but anything you want to say before we go, Slasher?
No, that was good. Thanks for talking to me.
Yeah, thanks for calling in, and thanks for the take. I appreciate it.
Yeah, here. Oh, also about Doc.
I did, just so people are clear, I did not move him. He dropped out in that moment. It was very impressive, though. All right, we're gonna take a quick break before we get into, and again, I'm sorry that it's taken so long to get into regular calls. But Mark, actually, while I'm doing the break, Mark, why don't you do the spiel really quickly on how to get your takes brought in?
Yeah. So if you've never seen the show before, it's a live call-in show, despite what you might have been sold for the first hour of this. I actually don't mind when we do longer ones when it's appropriate, to be honest, about slower taking calls. Feel bad for Apollo, but anyways,
I'm chilling.
Go ahead and join the Discord. I'm spamming it in the Twitch chat. When you get there, go ahead and join Pleb Calls or Pleb Calls 2 voice channels and mute yourself once you get in there. Then up above in the Pleb Topics text channel, you'll go ahead and post whatever it is that you want to talk about. Try and make sure it's framed more as a take. Like, I think Immortals is going to rally, as opposed to saying, how good is Immortals? Definitely, I think we've been getting a little spammy. I would appreciate people try to get a little less posting their takes 25 times in an hour.
It's not, it's not going to... Wait, we will start ignoring you if we see your name pop up too.
Oh, I absolutely do. I just do it silently. Maybe I should be more explicit that, like, if you post it like 7 times in between other people. And also, if you start giving your own emojis, I like when people give emojis to let me know that people are interested. But when someone puts their own emoji on first that says fire on your own take, fucking lames. Liking your own Facebook picture.
Anywho, we're going to take a quick break to talk about Alienware. What a weird show so far. But you know what's not weird? Alienware. Go check out alienware.com/Travis. While you're over there, you'll see they have a whole page set up for my stuff. I've actually been getting a lot of messages from people. In fact, I just got a message from somebody today on Reddit. Let's see if I can pull it up. But it's really cool to see this stuff from you guys. It makes me feel good about the partnership, and I always pass it on. But somebody said, "Hey Travis, just want to let you know that I bought an Alienware AW988 today. That's one of their headphones. And the only reason I explored an Alienware product is because of their sponsorship of you. I don't do any social media stuff. Just wanted to let you know. I could let you know, or to let you know that you influence the sale. Keep up the good work." That stuff just feels really good. And it's really neat that you guys understand that what Alienware does for us allows us to do shows and content like this for you. I definitely appreciate their support, and I think they've been great to work with on the whole, but especially this year, I think a lot of other sponsors could be sitting there saying like, "Hey, there's no MSI. I don't think we're going to continue this," or something. It's like, or Worlds is up in the air or whatever. Instead, they've been working with me to find other ways to continue the partnership and make sure that both sides are, happy and content. And I just think it's really cool to see that from a partner and a brand. And so I don't know. I know sometimes I talk more about the stuff than I do their products. And I highly encourage you to go check that stuff out because their products are phenomenal. We use them for all sorts of stuff. everything you see is rendered or done on an Alienware computer, either desktop or laptop. So they do great stuff for us, and I love gaming on the setup. So if you're looking to, you got a lot of free time on your hands, you want to get into a game, you want to play Cyberpunk, which is coming out, and you want to get some of their new stuff, go check out Alienware.com and use Alienware.com/Travis and use code Travis10off Q2. Make sure you use the Q2 because Travis 10 off doesn't work anymore, but the Q2 one does, and you'll save 10%. Either way, thank you so much, Alienware, for your support. Somebody says, "Can we get an Alienware emoji?" I'm talking to them about it. We'll see. We'll see if it ends up happening. What were you gonna say, Mark?
A couple people in Discord said something about TSM is starting treats. Did that get announced somewhere? Or is that people want treats to start? But there was a couple.
That's a take.
Yeah, someone.
I feel like Twitch chat normally blows up in those moments. I'll go check the TSM subreddit. But
I checked their Twitter and I didn't see anything.
Double Lift and Treats are duoing on their subreddit. I see that as of 5 hours ago, but I don't see.
Yeah, it's not quite enough for me to want to pull it.
Yeah.
I'll
Wait,
get.
Do they have enough import slots for Treats?
Yeah.
I guess they do. Yeah, they do.
Wait, isn't Treats Canadian?
I thought he was an import.
I thought Treats. Yeah, I thought it was European.
Yeah, I thought he was European. I'm gonna look it up.
He's Swedish. You're right.
Yeah.
Oh, he was playing in Canada for a while. That's why. Okay, sorry. I'm an idiot. All right. Mark, you got any? You want to grab a caller for us?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, he was playing in Canada. That's what I remembered.
Yeah, I forgot if he was somewhere, like if he did anything else before Academy.
By the way, I've got a great interview with Poom that's going to go up soon, and I highly recommend people watch it. He was literally doing twisted treeline bot games in 2017. Like, that was his League of Legends experience, and now he's out there beating C9, winning their games.
What a monster.
Yeah. Well, I got an interview that's going to go up with him. People should check it out. TrevaTheRuiner is here. Treva, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from a little place called Goldendale, Washington.
Goldendale, Washington State, I assume.
That's correct.
What do you want to talk about on the show?
Well, I was going over all the teams, and it's hard to see who's in the top two nowadays. But what I think is going to happen is the EG and CLG are going to be the two teams that miss playoffs this year.
EG and CLG?
Yep,
EG and CLG.
Okay. Both of those are a little surprising to me. One of them much more surprising than the other. Can you explain why?
Yeah, so kind of from what I've seen, and this is mostly, I would say, the eye test and a little bit backed up with data, but it seems like the meta is kind of shifting toward this carry jungler style, where the teams that are winning right now are the junglers. We got the Blabbers, we've got like Dardoch's putting on some good performances, and some of the other junglers, right? And of these two teams, at least CLG, I think, has the weakest jungler by far. So they don't have a chance to make it in this meta, and they're just going to continue to lose. And then as far as EG goes, I don't think they can play a style that doesn't favor just Jizuke hard countering. So they're not going to be able to play these styles that have, Karma mid or Galio mid or things like that. So I don't think they're going to be able to adapt either, and they're both just going to keep falling down and falling down.
Honestly, that's actually not a bad take. I didn't really think about that. I do think it is a little more carry centric junglers right now. Although I don't think it's necessarily make or break, right? Like, I'm pretty sure you can still win the game with a Trundle, you can still win the game with a tank jungler or whatever. But I mean, I kind of agree. It's like if they do. If the meta is more towards like the Graves in Italy, Lee Sin, the teams that have like Golden Guardians, of course Immortals as well, Dignitas, they do have really strong carry junglers, and I can kind of see where you're getting at. And they haven't been looking as good lately. EG and CLG are like, I can't really put a mark on them, but at least EG I can agree with. They haven't really been looking as great, so.
I mean, I thought the caller made some pretty good points. I think maybe a little too tunnel vision on carry junglers. Like TL is not really playing that way. Like they're still pretty standard. And they're the second place team. So, I think you can spam Trundle like Apollo's saying, and who knows what other tank junglers like Sejuani got a buff on 914. I don't know if it's enough to get her in there, but like if she ever becomes meta, like I don't think it'll be a bad play style. But I do agree with the overall assessment that of the teams who look bad right now, and this is obviously a bit of an overreaction, but CLG and EG definitely are both struggling, as well as like FlyQuest is tanking a little bit, and with the roster swaps helping out Immortals and 100 Thieves and Dig, it'll be a lot harder for the teams that are sitting at like 4 and 5 or whatever, or 5 and 4 or 5 and 5. Excuse me.
5-5, yeah.
Yeah, I can do math. Those kinds of 4 and 6 and 5 and 5 teams, like even Golden Guardians, need to continue improving to stay ahead of the teams that were previously like shoo-ins for last place.
Are we more excited about FlyQuest than we are EG right now, or even CLG? Because I feel like FlyQuest also looks like they're in a free fall, and so that's a name that like I would, if we are talking about who seemingly is supposed to be a good team that could end up falling if IMT and Dig or 100 Thieves raise up, I feel like FlyQuest is also in pretty big danger.
Yeah, I don't know what FlyQuest is doing. The MASH experiment to me looks like a failure, and I think I've seen enough of it to not.
It started off so good. I was like, this seems like crazy. And then it started off really good. I was like, I'm an idiot. And now I'm like, well.
And then they played Sen 80 carry.
Yeah. Oh, that game, that was the game that broke me for sure. I was like, wait, you're farming?
It was really sad to watch because there's a part of it where like I know as the 80 carry player, there's maybe the fact that he just got put into that position where like, okay, hey, you're going to be farming this time, or like, hey, we're going to do Sen 80 carry, and it's like, okay. And then
he did it in Academy. Before that game.
Wait, he did farming KD carry?
He did farming Senna in Academy, and then did it in LCS.
Well then, okay, I can't really back that up, but it's I remember playing Senna 80 carry in scrims like a while back just to try it out, and it was rough, man. Like I was like super fed, and I was doing still no damage, so I knew as soon as that game started going later, it was doomed. But back to the point of like FlyQuest, like I think those teams, especially like EG, CLG, FlyQuest, they still have enough wins where we like the underperforming teams, the teams that don't have enough wins right now, still kind of have to like maintain, like that we still have to be consistent. We beat TSM, but like lost a Dig, right? And we couldn't beat EG or TL. So it's even though I wish it was like, yeah, we beat TSM, so now we're better than all these other teams. It doesn't really work like that. And it's the same goes with 100 Thieves, like they beat C9, but it doesn't mean, oh, they're suddenly the top team in the league, right? Like they can still lose to these other teams if they make these, these small mistakes.
I mean, I have way more faith in Immortals than Dignitas right now. Like it's really hard to feel like Dignitas is going to get out, but EG won't. Like, especially when you just think about the lineup and the roster and like what feels like the shit show going down at Dignitas, like that's tough. And I think I'd put CLG easily over Dig as well, even with CLG's issues. Like, I don't know, maybe Dig will go crazy, but like, man, it does not feel good. I mean, Dig beat a weak FlyQuest. Like we were just talking about FlyQuest, like they were one of them, and they beat Immortals.
I know. Like, let's be real here, guys. Yeah. Immortals is, I wouldn't even call them a team at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, like the weird thing is with this weekend too is so much feels like, a lot of things went right for these teams. Like Dignitas got Phoenix for a 0-2 games in a row. I mean, Dardoch does seem to have a good champion pool now between like the Wukong and all this other stuff, but they got Thresh Ash, or was it Thresh something? Thresh Varus?
Thresh Ash versus us.
Thresh Ash versus you guys, and then Karma Ash. No, wait, no, I'm thinking of the.
I think they did do a Varus game, but I forgot what they paired it with.
Yeah, either way, it feels like they're getting a lot of really good draft picks that people just aren't respecting. Same with like the game versus TSM. I think Immortals played really, really well, but at the same time, those plays looked like TSM just was not paying attention in some of them.
I mean, some of them I think is like tilt. Like to be honest, you start losing to a bottom tier team, it's getting to your head. So maybe that's what happened. I'm not sure. I mean, like I even talked about it before. Like I think their draft it did not help them at all. So
Papa Smithy just got back from the airport with Poom, by the way. He was picking him up at the airport, and now Papa Smithy in the chat says the Poom gang has arrived safely. So there you go.
Wait, I didn't even notice he was playing from Canada.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Oh wow.
I was in. What the hell?
Wait,
I
that's
have an
crazy,
interview
actually.
with them. We talk about it a little bit.
Damn,
I wonder what his ping is. I wonder what his ping is from Canada.
Yeah.
Must
What
be
the
like
hell?
50
Vancouver.
something. Yeah, so it's not. I don't think it's 40 ping. I think it's 50 or 60.
Papa Smithy says 30 to 40, so I assume he would know.
It's probably better than normal ping.
No, wait, no. I'm talking to the guy. I'm talking about to the TR server though.
Yeah, but from the TR server, it's probably, I was about to say, better.
But again, wouldn't Papa Smithy know what his own player had as ping?
I trust Papa. Besides,
I'm making sure that it's to the TR instead of, because people in the chat were saying that it was 40, and I wasn't sure if they're talking to the league client. Okay, 30 to 40 on TR. Okay.
I think if I know anything about Papa, it's that he would have lied and made it sound worse than it was. There's no way he'd undersell this player's ping.
Well,
but yeah, sorry to derail, but back to the point, just like TSM, I think, like, whether you want to call it a trap game syndrome or not, or like they over prepare and then just kind of did stuff for their draft first. So you guys, it's hard to know, but it was definitely a bit of a weird game. And then you guys lost to Dig, but then at the same time, last weekend you played EG and TL super close, and like this week threw so much up in the air that it's so hard to actually draw like long-term conclusions from.
Yep. I mean, it's like I was saying before, it's really like you have to be consistent if you want to make playoffs at this point, right? Like, even though, these bottom tier teams technically stepped up and there's a lot of upsets, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that's going to happen again next week. So that's why it's really hard to judge. Is you don't really know if like we're going to be, or like, the teams are going to be able to beat those top teams again.
And you have to wonder what tiebreakers are already in place for those teams, considering they probably got, EG probably beat Dignitas when they played in the past or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a whole nother nightmare that I wouldn't think about.
Yeah. Let's positive vibes for Immortals and Apollo. Treva, any final thoughts here as we diagnosed your take?
No, not really. Just appreciate you having me on, and love you guys.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Kobe right now in his room talking about how I'm hella loud. I listen to this guy sit in his room, play League of Legends, and go boom all the time, and it is exhausting. I'm just gonna say, I think it's. Anyway, what else we got? Let's see, a couple more subs. Akid44, Reichster, Whoopley, thank you, Whoopley. Good to see you. Pabelling, thank you. We got new emotes, by the way, for anybody. Let's check them out. Anzai is here. Anzai, where are you calling from?
Can I just say California?
Yeah, yes. It's a big state. I'm a little worried about why you're nervous about where you're calling from. What do you want to talk about?
So my main take was that the low quality of NA gameplay is mostly a result of NA team's inability to draft with clear goals and win conditions, and a lack of commitment to really expand players' champion pools or play styles.
I mean, you say that, but I feel like so frequently I see teams just make really bad decisions. Like it's not always the draft. I feel like you just see like really strange, or sometimes just they do nothing. They just sit there and lose, and I don't know if that's the draft, but obviously I'm no analyst. So Mark, what's your take on this? It does seem like draft is a big part of it, but maybe not all of it.
No, and I think to the caller's point, it's less about and cut me off if I misrepresent your point, but it's less about like, oh, teams are losing in games in draft, and more that there's not enough prep work kind of put into it being like, this is how this comp is supposed to function, and maybe a tunnel vision on lane as opposed to like clear win conditions. Like the 100 Thieves draft was so fucking good, where you have Olaf, Galio as a combination. Karma in the bot lane also works with Olaf, but is also a strong laner to punish the early game weakness of Wukong. Senna, Ashe is also really good and one of the strongest laners now, just with her range and volley spam. Oh, and by the way, she brings hard CC engage, which you're lacking because your top laners Jace and they had Camille, that's right.
Camille Gallia, yeah.
Yeah, Camille Gallia, which is also another sick combination with their comps. Like, it was one of these comps that had a lot of great synergies that all worked together and suited players' strengths. And I think if I understand the caller's point, it feels like a lot of drafts aren't even like half that good. So yeah. I believe that was the point, was that we don't like. I think that might have been the first Camille game that we have seen, and you can play it actually in a couple other matchups too.
Like Camille versus Ornn, I saw it in an Academy.
Yeah,
C9 Academy versus TSM Academy, that was like really good, like quality gameplay in my opinion, at least for like NA, because C9 Academy drafted this like really good 1-3-1 comp with Camille and Corki, and TSM drafted like a mostly like 5v5 comp with like Ornn and Wukong, and so they were sort of playing around their own like win conditions, and so they look a lot better because they understand like how their comp is supposed to like move around the map and really make plays and stuff.
Yeah. So I'll give Apollo a chance to say if he thinks this is some backseat.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of thinking. I mean, I think building comps and playing around your win conditions is very standard, and like I'm pretty sure you can say that about almost every single game in NA where we've failed to do so and we've had bad drafts. I think in terms, like, if we're going to talk about like those kind of pocket picks, like Camille versus Ornn, Camille versus Aatrox, those matchups, they're harder to execute. Takes a little bit of time to learn those comps, and the season is relatively fast. And I know it's like amount of weeks, but it is fast. Like we have to be stage ready. We have to be good enough on those champions for us to like be confident to pull it out, which is maybe why you see it be kind of stale throughout those weeks. And then then that's why like it took like 3 weeks to get Ashe in the meta. It's like, okay, well now we figured out that Ashe is good into Aphelios and we can play this style. It just takes a little bit of time, and I mean I agree that NA can be faster in adapting, but I don't know if this is necessarily the reason why our region is weak. I think a lot of regions have this kind of issue where they don't play around team comps, or they have really weird drafts, but they end up getting away with it because of maybe raw skill or just the way it is, right? So I think it could be one of the reasons why, like, when we get to Worlds, we usually see us getting punished for I guess drafts, but also just poor decision making. Kind of what Travis was bringing up is we usually just generally have bad macro. We don't do things. We're not proactive. We don't know how to create plays. We sit around and wait for a 5v5 and then we go mid. So I think draft is a part of it, but you have to understand that as a team, like as a team's perspective, it does take a little bit of time to build these comps and to practice these comps and then be prepared to play it on stage, because you can kind of even see like sometimes people will do these comps, these whack comps, and then they'll fail miserably and they'll never want to do it again. And that happens a lot. It happens in scrims, and yeah.
Yeah, but part of my point was that a lot of times I think I see NA drafts kind of be like generic, where you have like champions that kind of don't really seem like they have a very defined purpose. Like the reason why I like seeing a Camille over maybe just like picking an Aatrox even when it's like the last pick or a counter pick is because like Camille wants to like split push, whereas like Aatrox is kind of like he can fulfill a lot of different roles because he's kind of like an all-rounder, I guess. But like when you have something that has a very defined purpose, like this champion wants to split push, I think it's a lot easier to really do macro plays because like like that champion wants to do this, so how about we play around like this specific champion that way?
I mean, that's fine, and it's good to have a 1-3-1 comp or a split push comp, but keep in mind split push comp is not necessarily good in this meta. It's generally a little bit outdated. There's too many ways to engage, and objectives are so important where you can't just keep giving up objectives because you're split pushing. Dragon Soul is like insanely broken right now unless you get Cloud. You can't teams have tried to do split pushing comps, and EG is one of those teams where you put them on a Rise, you put them on Echo, you put on LeBlanc, and you can get away with it. But just recognize that you can't always just slot in a Camille. You have to do it almost like preemptively. And I think that's why 100 Thieves draft was really powerful, is because they didn't play for a 1-3-1 comp. They played for a counter pick top with Camille, and then you used it to team fight instead of like, playing for this
And-
dynamic split push.
And oftentimes, team comps don't exist in a vacuum. So like, yeah, they didn't play a team fighting top like Aatrox or Ornn, but neither was C9. They're playing Jace, and so there's a little bit less. Like the worse of a team fighting comp they make, there's a little bit less of a necessity for you to do it. So if they're gonna play a carry top and I play a carry top, well, now we're playing the same game. Whereas if I play Camille and you play Ornn, you're gonna group and I'm gonna split, and like if you pull off a good engage at Drake and I don't TP, or I'm forced to TP and then I'm forced to team fight, like to Apollo's point, you have to start playing. Someone's gonna bend to the other person's will. Whereas if you both play carry tops, it's the same game.
Hey, do we have 100 Thieves take at all, Mark, tonight?
I don't remember everyone.
Okay, well, I want to throw this out. Just I know it's a bit of a tangent, but I was just thinking about it. We're praising the 100T draft a lot. Looking back at their drafts this year, maybe more recently, etc., do you think Zix has redeemed himself to the people who feel like, because people were unhappy with him on TSM, and he took a lot of heat, and I'm curious if you feel like I know you're laughing because you see him in Twitch chat right now, but I'm I'm curious what you think, because it felt like he was heavily praised at CLG until the end, and then he was not appreciated at TSM. Here he is with 100T.
It's a little hard for me to know what the general consensus, like what the public's feeling on him is. I mean, I'm in the post game threads, and TSM is just harsh. Fan base is harsh on their coach, so I remember seeing a lot of that then. But I don't know if there's been a ton of conversation around him recently. So I'm just not even sure how to answer it. I can say for my own opinion, recently, like I like the drafts a lot more. Back in the start of spring, I was like, when Ryoma was on Azir every game almost, I was like, I wouldn't mind seeing them try and put him on the low econ champ and give the higher econ to Meteos, just to see if it like can work. And then Meteos wasn't playing well, so I can understand, internally if there were reasons not to do that. Like I don't know what the dynamic was, but as the outside, I was like, hey, they keep giving the higher, scaling champion, or the champion wants more gold at least onto the mid lane. I wouldn't mind seeing them mix it up, and they've done that a little bit more now with Contract stepping in, which is nice to see. And Someday has been given more carry champions recently. He's played the Jason Camille game this weekend, and he played great in both those games. And everyone always wants to see Someday on Camille, carry champs, even though he's a great tank player too. So like, I feel like they've branched out more recently, which I'm very happy to see. So yeah, I don't know. Those are my thoughts on the public-facing elements of the 100 Thieves coaching.
I personally think, like, I appreciate what Zix did this split, because, like, if you look at the early games when Meteos and Stunt were still in, he actually did put Meteos a lot on like the carry jungle. Like, he put him a lot on Kindred and Olaf, and they kept trying to like make this like carry jungle playstyle work, even though it was like they were like 1-5 before they swapped the players.
Yeah,
but they still kept making it like still kept trying to make it work.
Yeah, but it wasn't the same way as when other people were getting jungle champs. Carry champs in the jungle, because they weren't actually allocating them extra resources, and that can be a little nebulous. So what I mean is, like, they were not going to do what Meteos wanted to do super frequently. He actually did not have high jungle proximity, which means people aren't playing around him, or he's not calling them. I don't know who to put the blame on either. So, don't understand, I'm not trying to fix the symptoms. I'm just saying, regardless, when they picked him, Olaf, he would not ever get a Karma mid. He would never get a Galio mid. He wouldn't get these kinds of early game skirmishers who want to go fight with him. He got a Zir every single time, which is not necessarily like, that is like asking the Olaf to control the early game versus, hey, I want you to run the early game over. And it reads really different to me in terms of meta compared to like what happens when Blabber gets Olaf. Like, the whole team will bow over backwards to set him up to do it.
That's a Karma right there on your team, and a Yumi.
Yeah, Karma
Yumi
Yumi
is the game.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it was night and day with how they were playing with the champ, even if you give them the same champ.
True.
Well, hey, I think we've run over on this call, but I just wanted to ask you, Anzai, is there anything you want to say here at the end?
Yeah, Firemaster Goon's out.
What? I don't know what. I don't know what he said, but
Fire Master Goons out.
I don't know. Anyway, you want to grab the next caller?
Yeah.
All right.
I got
Jadarko,
confused at the end there, but it's okay.
Merchant of Soul, Sendrin 96, the Chadma, and XX Iceman 1986. Thank you for the 2 gifted subs. Thanks everyone for the subs. We are Twitch chat saying, should I be offended? By the way, speaking of Under T, this past weekend, so they don't sponsor this show, so I don't want to give them too much love, but I appreciate that they renewed a little deal with us so we can keep doing our drafts. But Draft Buff did a thing. I placed 16th out of like 1,100 people, and then the person who got first in our draft royale just drafted entirely 100T people and the 100T team, which I thought was very funny and a testament to their performance. Dakton is here. Dakton, where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm calling from Rochester, New York.
Rochester, New York. What do you want to talk about on the show?
So I wanted to talk about how the online LCS format is causing some rookies like Insanity and some lower tier players last split like Kumo to look better than I think they really are. And that when LCS goes back to being LAN, they'll be exposed.
Sorry, so would you say exposed?
It's a little. I think it's a little negative, but I think.
I agree. But I think it'll show that they aren't necessarily the same level as when they're playing online.
This should be good news for you, Apollo. All those young whippersnappers actually stuck.
I know. They can't keep getting away with this. I mean, I agree that it will change, and rookies do have an advantage right now that they don't have to deal with the pressure on stage. Like I remember when I played first few years, man, it was rough. I was sweating. I was definitely nervous. So I can agree with that. I don't know if it's because I don't get the same kind of nerves, but I still get nerves. Or like I still get that kind of adrenaline rush when I'm playing even online. So I don't think it's like complete night and day. Like we still get that feeling. Keep in mind the fans, the crowd isn't very large in most of the cases. Like unless you're on a good team, or at a like
Apollo never looks out at a full room until he's playing against like TSM or somebody.
Remember the battle theater?
Yeah.
When it was like that little closet.
Those were rough times. I remember like Envy versus the Energy days. Oof, man, the crowd was. You could hear crickets. I think, but like like I was just saying, I think there is still an element where you still get those nerves. So I don't think it's going to change too much, but I agree they have an advantage. And I wouldn't say like, Insanity's randomly going to be like some dog shit player. Like I would never like, I
You
don't
live
think
with them? Is this true?
I do live with David, yeah, or Insanity.
So you're keeping so you got to be diplomatic in your answer.
No, I don't care.
Hey, message received, Apollo. We got it.
Same with Poom. Same with
Who's the biggest fraud right now, rookie, because of online play? Who's the biggest benefit?
Let me see. Let me think. Let me give you a good answer here.
Is it tactical? Is that the only reason TL is able to do well?
I actually think some players like Tactical and Johnson, like Johnson looked fine in spring, even on like a trash tier dig team, and like he's still playing well in summer. So like this doesn't apply to everybody, but I think there definitely are some players.
It just
that are
implies to Insanity, right? That's what you're saying.
Not just Insanity. I think he's
Insanity and maybe Alarum, I think, as well.
I think they're definitely.
Wait, is it Alarum? I thought it was Alarum.
I think it's Alarum. Sorry, it's Alarum.
You don't even know how to.
I fucked it up for years on Academy broadcast, so like I'm with you, dude.
I mess it up every day, but I just call him Kieran. So Kieran.
All right.
I'm just messing with you, by the way. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
I mean, I think so. There's another way to look at this, which is this is these rookies will you're kind of slowly getting them into it, right? Like now they're playing in the LCS, but they get to play from home, and then eventually they may play in the LCS, but let's say they're potentially playing from an empty audience, right? Like maybe there's no audience on stage because they're able to open the studio before they can bring in an audience, and then so maybe this is a good way to kind of like slowly graduate these rookies into the league.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I think in last split they were playing some Academy games on stage after the LCS games too, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I think that probably helped as well. I think it's good that the rookies are getting a chance to actually play. And I think the NA rookie talent is good, and we can develop more. But I just think that there are some. I think the effects of online LCS are not talked about as much as I think they should be.
It's just one of those things that
It's like
like
once you
what-
talk about it once, there's not much else to say about it.
Yeah, it's like what else do you say really? You know, it sucks for everyone, and let's hope that nothing really gets like let's hope the transition is smooth, and you know, like let's not find out that all our rookies happen to be actually shit and they can't play on stage.
it's also the kind of thing like you won't know if it's true until you get back there either. So
Yeah,
once you say like this could be true, like you can't follow up again until you get any like
I think
data
it's the
point.
type of thing that the analyst desk says once and then doesn't need to repeat themselves. You know, like really
I think we
the
could
analyst
actually
desk.
sprinkle it in every single time a rookie's playing.
I think
That's
the
good
analyst
part.
desk really doesn't need to just bring it up multiple times. You know, like they don't tend to reuse content like that. So I would expect them not to talk about. Is there anything else that you want to say on this call, Dakton?
Just one quick question for Mark. I know you went to RIT. Did you ever have a garbage plate when you were in Rochester?
I had one or two.
Okay.
I didn't think they were
what
that good.
your thoughts? Oh,
Not-
okay. Yeah, you never went to RIT. You're out.
I went to RIT. I went into the actual city to get the garbage plates. I don't know. They're not that fucking good. I'd rather eat any other cuisine.
All right. Hard disagree. That's okay. That's okay.
I was sitting back waiting to see how this was going to go down because I have no fucking clue what you guys are talking about.
I mean, you fucking come to LA and you eat sushi, Mexican food, you know, like all the amazing cuisines out here. Like Italian's not even that good out here, but Italian is still better than fucking a garbage plate from Rochester.
I mean,
Look
it
at
doesn't
listen to the name.
sound great. Anyway,
The name does not do it justice.
Dakton, thank you so much for the call. We're gonna move on.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.
You too.
Okay, we got a couple more callers to go. I would read out some more subs, but we haven't received any. So we'll just
we'll
sit
go ahead
here.
and wait for that.
Yeah, there's nothing else to say. Flying Ham says I missed their sub, but I don't think that their sub went through because I don't see them in the list. So I don't know what to say. Max Drixton sub. Thank you, Max Drixton. Okay, you're gonna have to tell me how to say your name.
It's pronounced Cheongseolmo. It means a squirrel in Korean.
Squirtle?
Squirrel.
Squirrel.
Yeah.
Squirrel. Where are you calling
Yep.
from?
I'm calling from New Jersey.
What do you want to talk about?
That Immortals will finish top 3 in the regular season.
Oh boy, we always get one of these. Somebody always comes to simp out for whoever the guest is. All right, why are they going to finish top 3?
After watching the games this weekend, and the fact that Alorum is drawing Malphite bans is a concern for other teams if they can't find a way to play around that. And the bot lane has been stepping up every time, and Insanity is showing to be a solid top 3 to 4 mid laner in the league.
Apollo, why won't you guys finish top 3?
What? No, we're gonna finish top 3. I have no rebuttal to this. This is just straight facts.
Who are the other teams up there with you?
Facts right now. Cloud9, I believe, is up there as well as Cloud9. I think there's another team that I forgot.
Cloud9 Academy gets promoted into the LCS.
Yeah.
They take the others.
I don't know. You guys might have a hard time, Apollo, getting over Cloud9 Classic when they let them back into the LCS.
True. I was watching their game. They're pretty good. I mean, if you want me, I don't even know what to say. Like, I think top 3 is like, I mean, it would be amazing, and I think it's gonna be really fucking hard. I appreciate the kind words. I'll say, like, yeah, that's about it. I mean, like, I can pump myself up, but I don't think it's worth it. So
is it even possible? So we're saying finish top. I don't think you mean like finish top 3 after in playoffs, right? You mean in like standings?
Yeah, in standings.
Like, we're more than halfway through the split, and they've got.
They got the opposite record of TL. Like TL and you would need to flip and see TSM's 2 back from that.
Yeah.
So you need to.
Immortals has 2 wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have a 20% win record.
Believe it or not, we only have 2 wins. It may feel like we have 4, but I don't think we do.
It
feels like you guys have more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Holy crap,
I
we're
just think
6 wins
statistically
behind.
it's going to be really difficult. You need
4 wins
like
for the third place.
other teams to just like nobody else can have like a good streak. I think everybody just has to like
Everyone just has to start plummeting.
Yeah.
Just dropping like flies.
Well, I mean, like if this weekend showed anything that it's possible with TSM, FlyQuest, and EG all dropping games this weekend.
and C9. Maybe C9
And
won't be
C-
top 3.
I mean, that 100 Thieves game
Although
was something else.
technically, it's better if C9 just wins every game.
Yeah, I know.
NTL, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you're 4 games behind TSM, so it's not impossible. It's just like you need TSM to not. You need TSM, EG, CLG, and FlyQuest to all start doing badly and like not have 100. It's just this is really difficult.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we're gonna do it, and I'll see you guys there at the top.
How much do you worry about getting top 3 or what? I mean, given that the playoffs is like top 8, Apollo, is this? I mean, obviously you want to be winning, but
We came in to the split 0-4, and so our first thought is like, okay, well, we want to get into playoffs, right? That's the step 1, and we're still 2-8, so I think we're still kind of we're still looking at step 1 right now. We're not really thinking about anything else. Just getting into playoffs is like number 1 priority. So
I mean, that's the part that matters too. When there's 8 teams getting to playoffs, like you have a pretty good chance of getting to playoffs. Then what can you do from there?
yeah, I mean, I wish we can get top 3, but yeah, it's not something I would ever
Caller,
think about.
even given all what you're hearing, are you still confident they're going to get top 3?
I know it'll be difficult, but I feel like TSM is kind of a flash in the pan after everything because Doublelift really hasn't been performing to what Doublelift has in the past. And like Spica and Broken Blade look great, but I feel like that's gonna come to an end soon. And just EG's too
Okay, so let's
impressive.
skip that. Let's fast forward and say like EG, CLG, FlyQuest are on a downward trend.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you: why will Immortals get in over 100 Thieves if all those other teams are not doing well? Because 100 Thieves is 2 up, just beat C9. Zix has redeemed himself, according to Mark Zimmerman. I think that was a direct quote. And so why would that occur?
So I think the biggest worry right now with 100 Thieves is Poem, I believe it's how it's pronounced.
Boom.
Poom. All right. Not saying that he's bad. It's just he is a rookie and he's recently new to League of Legends, like 2 years, I think, professional time. So I think, and I mean, Someday is like the most veteran player on the team, and I don't know his English level, but like I feel like communication might be a problem for that team, and I feel like that's when you're gonna start seeing like flaws in their gameplay through like contracts and Poem subbing through halfway through the season. I think just that draft against Cloud9 was very good with the Camille, Galio, Ash, because that's just a great.
I don't mean to be rude, but the Someday thing just feels like that's like you're trying to find. It's like you need a reason, so let's find the person who doesn't speak English and throw that one out there.
Well, I still think Someday's one of the best top laners in the league. I always have, but I feel like communication is something that we can see coming up with that team as a problem.
And
I'll give
my
you
understanding is he speaks English mostly. Fine.
I'd go with veteran experience if I was gonna go with anything. I mean, yeah, Lorem and Insanity are younger, but Hakuho, Apollo, and Smithy have all been around. They have a ton of leadership. Don't forget, Haku, yes, took down TSM with his Thresh again after,
once again.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd hype him around that versus Someday's English.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think like I don't think 100 Thieves are suddenly the best team in the league, and I don't think they're necessarily or I don't. That's not what you're saying, but I don't think they're necessarily like number 2, right? They're not like sitting behind Cloud9 just because of their win. So I don't think that these guys are just gonna skyrocket, and maybe they could, but I don't think just because they beat Sand they can do that. So it's definitely going to be a close race if those teams were to if EG, TSM, and FlyQuest were to start getting that downward trend. I still think it'd be a close race between us, Dig. I mean, Golden Guardians I think are even looking Well, they were looking good, and then they like lost to who did they lose to? They lost to TL, I think. Like they had like this Lysandra game.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, I feel like these teams it's still going to be close regardless. Like I wouldn't count anyone out just yet. And yeah, I know it's pretty PR, but it's really just the way it is, right? It's like if
Apollo
we're talking
being
about,
very humble with his
If
2 and
we're-
8,
if-
suggesting he wouldn't count any of the other teams above him out just yet.
Yeah, I mean it's true though. It's like we're all beating each other at this point, right?
Yeah.
Like if you look at we lost a Dig, and then I think TSM beat Dig, and then we beat TSM. It's like who the fuck knows what's going on?
Yeah.
I think that's clip that, and that's the entire episode. Who the
Yeah.
fuck knows what's going on?
Hey, thanks so much, caller. Anything you want to say before we move on to the next one?
I think Zix has definitely redeemed himself through 100 Thieves, especially with how Ryoma has been looking recently.
Hey, the caller agrees with you, Mark. Hey, thanks so much for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
All right, thank you. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
If Zix is still in the chat, the only thing he needs to redeem is hopefully he has shorter review times when we're scrimming.
Is that an issue?
I fucking love stuff like that.
You guys wait around a lot for review?
I'm pretty sure he's one of the teams that we wait around for, as well as Golden Guardians.
Is TSM still bad? Because TSM back in the day was the fucking worst
Well,
when Loco
TSM
ran it.
had Zix. I mean.
Oh,
Loco.
yeah. Loco was the worst. Yeah, Zix pretty bad then.
TSM I think are fine, but to be honest, we don't really scrim them very much for some obvious reasons.
Yeah, because you beat them, so.
Yeah, because we beat them, so they obviously we don't want to scrim them.
Yeah,
not
why-
the other way around.
Why deal with them?
I see Empire still saying TSM reviews are the longest.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sounds about right. I mean, they don't have like a.
Well, who's their coach? I don't
That's
even know. Who
that's
their
the
coach
problem.
is.
You know,
That's what I was about to say. I'm glad you
Zip
filled in
Erickson?
the blank for me. It's like they
it's
just
hard.
all. The coach is the screaming session that they have at each other for 45 minutes, where everything goes unresolved, and then they move on.
Parth is the coach. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I think is the
Right,
Yes.
and then the strategic coach are the players.
Yes.
And they do
yeah.
the review. Got
Yeah.
it.
Yes, exactly. All right.
I've been in that situation before. It's fun.
Let's move on. Aren't you kind of in that situation now?
No, we have a coach. We have Mala.
Okay. I actually it was. I'll tell you about it later. Anyway, let's move on to the next caller.
Can you tell me about it now? If you're gonna tell him about it later.
Yeah. I'll tell you guys off air. All right. Mark, go get the. There we go. Subwoofer, thank you for the 4 months. Raz, thank you for gifting the sub. Tridagabus, thank you for the prime. C Sears gifted a sub to Apollo Price, who I'm honestly shocked was not an existing sub. Beyond the Goose.
I think I got gifted a sub before, but then it ran out.
Yeah, well, I just mean maybe you should just set it and forget it. Irrelabad, thank you for the sub. Waiting on Mark to get back with the next caller. Any moment now. Any moment. Raz, you gifted a sub. Oh, who did you gift the sub to? You gifted a sub to Give Was Mod. It's spelled W-A-Z. I don't know who that is. Hello,
Is that
hi. Thank you.
Lodge, I mean,
I
for
said
the fuck you letter.
give Waz Mod, which is I don't know what's going on there. Hello, hi. Thank you for calling in. Where are you calling from?
Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas. How's it going in Dallas?
It's going good. COVID's starting to, get a little bit worse here, like extremely quickly. So it's going good.
Yeah, I've stopped asking this question for the most part because I feel like the answer is always disheartening. But I don't know.
Well, Texas has decided to. Well, I shouldn't get political, but Texas has decided to pick up some spicy, policies. But
My brother lives in Texas, and he said like a few months ago you guys were not very strict at all with like your regulation. It's like regarding like things were opening and all that stuff. So I'm kind of not surprised. It's worse.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Whatever. Let's talk about League of
It's
Legends.
weird.
Yeah. No COVID time.
What were you gonna say, Mark?
So
Go ahead,
I
caller.
was just gonna say So my take is that C9 will probably lose around 4 games to split, simply because of winner's fatigue and because the rest of the league is getting better.
Do you have any ideas on what?
I know this is a
why do you decide 4?
I know. So part of me was like, okay, if they just win out the split from here on, like they win the next, I don't know, like 6-7 games, then they would just, sub out the rest of the roster, put the academy roster in like they were memeing on Twitter, and just, lose a couple of games there. But also, I think that if they're experimenting as much as they are, they have a chance to just start dropping games to teams that are really starting to improve. And that could actually be a problem.
I don't know. You want to go first, Paul, or should I?
Well, I don't really know like what the main point is. Like, if they start losing, are you just saying that like they're getting worse or like they're getting complacent? Is that why?
No.
Like,
I don't think they're getting worse at all. I think part of it is that winner's fatigue is real, and people can get overconfident because of that, and they'll just kind of underestimate their opponents and lose games because of that, just a lack of prep or trying out new things that just wouldn't work on stage.
right. I mean,
Apollo.
But I guess what Paul's asking is like, what's the effect, like the end effect of this? They won't win, or they'll.
I still
struggle in
think they
playoffs,
go. I still think they'll get first, and I think they'll still think they'll dominate the split. But like, I think they'll lose like 4 games, and I think it'll be like a struggle for first with them and TL.
This is a tough situation for Apollo because I don't think he's ever been in a position to have winner's fatigue.
I knew you were gonna say that when you're like waiting. God damn it. I mean, I think like this. I mean, the winner's fatigue and all that, like getting complacent. I mean, even the fact that they're trying new things isn't that technically a good thing, right? Like you say that they might not be ready for these things on stage and trying new things on stage, but isn't that like kind of the perfect time to do it, right? Because on stage things are usually a lot different. At least, I mean, just coming from me, it's usually a lot different than scrims, so it's a good place to try it anyways. So I feel like them doing this and them dropping games is fine as long as they're like mentally okay with it. Like if they're blowing up because they lost 1 game, then that's their own problem. But I think if they're trying new things and dropping games because of it, that's totally fine as long as they know that, right? Like they're in a really safe position. We know how good they are. They're not. I don't think they're gonna just start getting worse. So I do agree teams are getting better, but I don't really see.
Are they?
Well, a follow-up point
I think
before we get into
the lower teams are getting better, but it doesn't even like there's Cloud9, right? And then there's like the lower teams, and then
I just don't
we're
feel
like
like
inching.
the teams are getting. I feel like you're right that like the bottom teams are getting better, but I don't feel like anybody like the gap is not closing between Cloud9 and the rest of the league. So it's just really hard for me to think that like I think 100T looked really good. I think they had a good draft. I think C9 fucked up, but I also think it was like an any given Sunday best of 1 situation. So I don't expect them to lose 3 of their next 8 games.
I'm not saying I agree with that part, but the caller's point about the league being better does mean that like if C9 is experimenting and these any given Sundays are more likely to happen.
I guess that's fair.
Like, yeah, 100 Thieves is not getting closer to C9 significantly to actually challenge them as the second best team or anything like that. But if Dignitas, Immortals, CLG, Golden Guardians, and the bottom half of the league isn't dog shit, that means it's much more likely that when C9 has a bit of a weak game, that they actually lose it. Whereas in spring, I do think that the bottom of the league was a lot worse, and even the middle.
You don't think it's offset by what seems to be other teams getting worse? Like FlyQuest definitely looked better weeks ago than they do now.
Yeah, but I think that's also part of the fact that teams are better. Like TL was 9th. CLG was basically winless with Crown and shit. Like spring during this time, teams were fucking bad.
Yeah, I just mean even like because I remember in week 2 we were like, oh, some of these other teams might be good now. Like maybe not on C9 level, but like wow, we could have a solid. And now I just look at a lot of these teams and I'm like TL looked okay this weekend, but like TSM, who people were saying was going to be second best, now like they went 0-2. Obviously one of those was a C9 game, but like it's just one of them was an Immortals game.
Yeah, and I mean that happened last split too. I mean, FlyQuest was 7-3, and then they went Right. I think they were 7-3, and they ended up 10-8, and they went like 2-something in the back half. They really struggled. Like similar swings happened last split with what were like the best teams. I think that's just naturally happens in a split. People
Yeah.
have different win streaks and stuff.
Yeah, it also depends on how the meta swings as well, right? Like how
Okay.
the drafts play out and all that stuff.
So let's all do two. So for the caller said 4 games, so that would mean 3 more games that C9 would lose.
They go 5-3.
I don't think anybody. I'd be surprised if any of you guys are going to suggest that. But what? How many games do you think C9 will lose in the rest of the split regular season?
I'm really close between 1 or 2.
Probably just to IMT, I would say, and that's it.
So just the one.
So just the one.
All right, I'll say 2 then. I'll go with they lose 2 more.
I say 1.
6 and
Probably
2.
not to IMT, but I'll say 1. But it could happen.
I like how Apollo goes for the parlay bet. Not only is C9 going to lose specifically 1 more game, it will be to this one team instead of the other 9.
Yeah, his
8,
specific team.
It's just a specific team.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
he
has nothing to do with his
yeah.
position.
I've been watching the IMT games closely, and I've been judging them. How well.
Have you seen their close percent? It's insane. We need to talk about it again.
All right.
Yeah.
Caller, thanks for the take. Anything you want to say before we move on to the next caller?
Just shout out to IMT for putting my boy Smithy back on the team.
There you
For,
go.
in my opinion.
I'll let them know.
Yeah. Have a good one. 2 more to go. We got any other subs in the chat? We haven't had one in 14. Can you guys do me a favor? Everybody in the Twitch chat right now, can you hover your cursor over the screen? I'm trying to test something. Hover your cursor over the screen, and then just if you see a blue crown pop up on desktop or laptop or whatever, click that. And then if you see like Prime sub or free sub, just click that. I'm trying to see if this feature works. Rikuru is here. Rikuru, where are you calling from?
Newfoundland, Canada.
Canada. What do you want to talk about on the show?
The topic was that outside of the basically the top player in each role, and you could even extend it to the top 2 if you really wanted to, that the mechanical skill difference between LCS and Academy is basically 0. And what separates the players is the mental game.
So you think like the bottom 8 to 9 players are about as skilled mechanically as the bottom players in the Academy League? Because you have potentially a range of like what 18
he's saying
people there.
He was saying outside the top in LCS Academy and LCS are not that far, are about the same, right?
Yeah, well, if he was saying the top 1 or 2 in LCS, which would imply the bottom 8 in
yeah, but then you also said bottom 8 for Academy. Why did you say bottom 8 for Academy? Or did I mishear you?
Me? I didn't say bottom 8 Academy.
Twitch chat will let me know.
Rikuru. Sorry, answer.
Yeah.
Could you answer? Mark is confused. Do you
Basically, I'm saying if you take out the top 1 or 2 players from the LCS in their roles,
read Twitch chat, Travis. You said it.
The remaining players in the LCS, the mechanical skill difference between them and the players in the Academy is very small. The main difference between the differentiating those 2 players is the mental game.
Okay, so any players in Academy?
Yeah.
I like this question because I wanted to get Apollo's take on it. Having played in both Academy and LCS,
Yeah,
this
having
split.
recently graduated from Academy himself.
Yeah.
I just now have decided to, we got the opportunity, the pleasure of playing in LCS. Very excited about that. To answer your question, or to answer the the college question, I mean, I agree with it. I don't think it's that black and white. I don't think it's like top 8 or whatever. I do think a lot of the difference does come down to macro and knowledge of the game and just being able to play at that level. The mechanics is the very baseline that you have to have, right? And when you get into Academy, when you've been playing solo queue, that's what you have. That's the reason why you're in Academy, is because you showed to these teams that you can beat people in lane, you can play a team fight well. You can do that, and then the reason why your academy is so you can learn how to play macro, so you can learn from the veterans or you can learn from the coaches how to move around the map, how to move the pieces, right? And then even going further, how to shot call, how to work with your teammates, how to use your resources. So yeah, I mean, you're right. Like the mechanical level it's not super different. You have a lot of good mechanically skilled players in the academy right now. But the reason why they're not playing in LCS is because they can't work with their team very well. They don't know how to use their resources. Maybe they choke. They don't know how to move around the map because I don't know, they just haven't had the right coach or something. But that's like the huge difference is the macro, is the knowledge. So you're right in that aspect.
I think
Uh,
I was gonna say I think I agree that like in terms of where the biggest gap is, if you was between fingers or brain, I think it's pretty obviously brain. But I don't want to completely sweep mechanics under the rug because I think it's sometimes glossed over, and it can be hard to separate exactly what mechanics can mean. Like
Yeah,
if
it's a very
someone
broad statement to say
right
mechanics.
right like a player's ability to play a champion is that their fingers are bad or that they haven't played that champion enough, right? Like if Broken Blade's Wukong bad because mechanically he sucks at the champ or because he hasn't played enough to know what to do is the correct situation. Like the Shy famously said, "Oh, I don't think I'm a mechanical player. I've just thought a lot about the game and I know what I want to do in every situation." It's like, this is one of the most mechanically skilled players in the world, downplaying his mechanics a little bit. And so I think sometimes things that count as mechanics get swept up into what is really actually game knowledge, champ knowledge, situation specific knowledge. But I think it's still fair to like kind of splitting semantics at that point. Like whatever, you're not playing the champ right,
Yeah.
And I think that is something that shouldn't be understated. Is that like the amount of people who I see play Jace and actually like really trade aggressively and push the limits of the champ is not a ton. Like I see Kumo start D blade or D shield Jace and like let the wave push into him level 1, even when I think his jungler was actually up there on the top side. He's against Volibear. I was like, what the hell are you doing? Take D blade and get in his face. Like what's the Volibear gonna do? Like those are some things that I look at and I say like, is that champion knowledge, confidence? Is that mechanics? It gets really murky when you're not actually like there to pick someone's brain on why they do these things.
Rikuru, do you think this is a judgment on the mechanics of North American LCS players, or do you think that this is a testament to us having mechanically skilled players in Academy? Like, should we be feeling good because we've got a lot of mechanically skilled players in Academy that just need to figure out how to use their brain? Or is this like, maybe our LCS players should step up their mechanics?
It probably more B than A there, I think. I would assume that you'd probably see the same thing in any of the regions. It's just that at the highest level, I don't think, what makes, if you're going to argue this season or the past couple of splits, what makes Niski so much better than Bjergskin, it's not the mechanical skill of them piloting the champions. It's the mental of knowing what to do and when. But I did have one quick follow-up question for Apollo on something he said.
Mhm.
Do you think the Academy League is doing a good job or providing a good environment for those players to learn those skills?
To learn, you're talking about learning macro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for the most part, I mean, like when I played in there, I guess it's a little bit different because every team's going to be a little bit different, right? Like I've been playing for a decent amount of time, and I was able to, help the players understand macro and share my knowledge, right? So on our team, like at least I had a big voice in that regard. So maybe if you go to a different team where they don't have like a veteran player or a good coach for as well, like I don't want to just sound like I'm just coaching the team alone, right? I I think it depends on the coach, depends on who's also on that team. If you have 5 rookies on a team and maybe not a great coach, which is most likely going to be the case in academy, it's very rare that you have a really good coach in the academy spot. Like there's not many coaches, that many great coaches in the LCS period. So it's it'd be weird for them to put resources into an academy. So I think it really depends on who your players are on that team, and yeah. So it just depends, and I think if you have a veteran, then it is good. Yeah.
Rikuru, thanks so much for the call. Any shout outs before we go on to our last caller?
Yerk skin.
I respect it, dude.
Thanks, guys.
What was it? I didn't get it.
He misspoke a little bit when he said Bjergsen's name the first time.
Okay.
And like I kind of chuckled, and Twitch chat was kind of chuckling, and we started saying Bjergskin, and then rather than get like, oh
just
no,
doubled
I
down.
missed. Yeah, I just doubled down. I fucking love it.
Okay. Do you want to go grab our last caller? Quick Play 64, thank you for the Prime, and JagC26, thank you for the Prime as well. Got our last caller coming up here in just a moment. Looks like he's here. Cam Ooflodge is here. Cam Ooflodge, is that how you say your name?
Yep.
What do you want to talk about? Or sorry, where are you calling from?
Sarnia, Ontario.
And what do you... Is this who I think it is?
Yes, it is, Travis.
Oh, motherfucker!
I got you again, Mark.
He changed. I actually clicked it this time to check, and he changed.
Hashtag live evil, boys.
Oh god, you know what? It's even in your fucking name. This is like a Brandon Sanderson thing to name his name Camouflage, and he's camouflaged himself as another person.
And I clicked his name because I don't know why I just clicked it, and it said I'm new to Discord, say hi. So I was like, I was getting ready to kick him because I was like, okay, this is somebody who just made a Discord account. What are the chances that like this is gonna be like a real person? It could be like a scammer or something.
All right,
bluejay.
I gotta say, what bluejay does well is he'll change his take up. And like he was posting EG shit, but we kind of covered EG and like a couple of the other calls. So I didn't want an EG caller, and we were running out of people. So I was like, oh, does anyone else want like a chance to get on? And then he changed his take up to another one, and like motherfucker.
Okay, but here's one thing I gotta say though. Like, so this is my opinion. I don't know if Twitch chat feels the same way, but like, I don't care if you guys have the same caller on all the time. I just want there to be a good take. So
I mean,
don't
you
guys
have that
think
opinion because you're the same caller that gets on all the
I know,
time.
of course, right? Of course, there's bias there. But even before I used to call in, I used to think the same thing.
The only thing that I appreciate, I mean, so Twitch chat says we all want good takes. You guys must disagree with the YouTube comments because the YouTube comments get super bitter that it's like, oh, the same person is always on. And they always Mark always pulls the same person. So either way, I mean, I enjoy this a lot because what's really impressive to me is that we get a lot. Like Mark, how many? We get like 100+ takes a night, right? Probably more than that.
Yeah.
And like we pick like I don't know, like 10 callers maybe. And so the fact that you are so consistently able to get on, it shows why it makes sense that we do end up with so many frequent callers. Because what's that, Mark? What, Mark?
Nothing. I'm just like, because there's another person who had a TL take, and I'm reading the difference. And like, I must have some like the way you type. It's like intrinsic bias I have because this is camouflage or Blue Jays. TL will prove they deserve to be top 2 with the way they drafted and played this last weekend. Someone else posted not long after. Even though TL is 8-2, they aren't very good and Broxah's bad. It's basically the TL take for the night. It's a positive or a negative approach to it. I don't even have any problem with the way this other guy said it. I'm like, why did I pick the same fucking guy I always pick?
Maybe this is not even. Maybe he doesn't even have unique great takes. It's just you've got an issue. You've got some.
Yeah,
sort of
that's what I'm
mental
wondering. It's
problem.
like, am I just like brainwashed somehow? There's like some trigger word that just makes me pick him. I don't. I like the other guy.
Earlier in the show, you guys were talking about how like maybe we're not sure if TL is the top 2 team. So I figured like for sure this take was going to get taken.
Okay, but someone else had the same take, just the negative angle, and I don't care if someone's negative about it.
Okay, so let's pretend this didn't happen. Go ahead and pitch your take, Blue Jay.
Yeah. Okay. Also, one quick thing before we get in, I'm so fired up that Apollo's on the show because I asked for him last week. Did I have anything to do with that, or is that just damn luck?
I think I said maybe it was you. Somebody in Twitch chat said Apollo should be on the show. And,
dude, he's fucking the show. Blue Jay is producing the show without even knowing. He gives us half of our takes. He picks our guests.
Somebody said, maybe it was you, but I think other people said Apollo should be on the show or something like that. And I saw Apollo in Twitch chat say agreed. And so
I said it at the end of my take, and then Apollo was just like, "Yeah, have this guy on the
okay,
show."
maybe
And it
it
turned out he
was
was hiding the whole time.
It has
Somehow
more to do
Bluejay's
with
in
Apollo
here.
saying agreed than it has to do with you suggesting it. If he
That's
had
what
not
you
said
think,
that,
Travis. That's what you think. And then he'll do it next week again somehow.
Yeah.
I won't hide. I won't camouflage next week. I'll give someone else a chance. I'll just bluejay in the chat or in Discord, and I'll let you decide next week.
I think
Mark,
what's
but,
remarkable is you didn't just name change this time. You actually did make a new Discord account.
Yeah, because you guys gave me
I
the
was
idea.
checking.
It's your fault.
I was checking too. Fuck.
All right. Anyway, bluejay, pitch your take as if we hadn't heard it from Mark already.
Okay, yeah. So I think that TL their very last game showed that they have the potential to be the second best team in NA, and I actually think they will show that in the games that they're going to play later. Well, yeah, just later in the split. To talk a little bit more on that, I actually think that their drafts, their last draft was really good. I think it really fit their play style a lot more than what we saw earlier in the split. So what I mean by that is I'm really happy that Impact is back on tanks. I know that's been talked about for a long time, like, oh, is Impact a tank player only? And honestly, though, who cares? Like, he's a really good tank player. And so if he's got to play Ornn to be good, so be it. And I think that Jensen being on the LeBlanc was awesome. It's about time he's back on something a lot more aggressive. I don't mind TF, but I'm not too huge on Azir. And CoreJJ just being allowed to play whatever playmaker he wants, whether it be like blitz hooks or bard ultimates and stuff like that, I think is really good for the team, and I think they're starting to play aggressive like Broxa said they would.
I'm just sorry. I was listening to what you said, but as you were saying it, I was just thinking the LCS broadcast definitely needs some additional talent, and I'm thinking either behind the scenes or in front of the camera, like they should reach
Put me
out
in,
to.
coach.
Yeah.
You know what? Hotline League might need some extra talent too.
No, it
you know
doesn't.
what I'm
Shut up.
saying?
All right, so
I'll take a night off. Stop it.
So let's see. So are we still concerned, Apollo and Mark? I mean, maybe Apollo, you're not concerned. You like it, but Broxa, I feel like people have been concerned about for a bit, and I wonder if we no longer, if you're TL fan, you no longer need to be concerned about him as a liability.
Concerned that he's underperforming. Is that the consensus?
Yeah, I feel like people felt like he was a liability. He was playing passive. Like he was an issue for the team.
Well, I guess I'll go first. I don't really know actually. I guess I haven't really watched their most recent TL games, or like I didn't really watch it closely. I just know that they won. I think I already said like kind of my thoughts in the beginning, where I said that they were just a slow team, and whether that's Broxa or not, like I think generally when I say they're a slow team, I mean like the team as a whole is kind of slow, like and they play like a slower style and they play for team fights. I think they drafted a definitely more aggressive composition. Like they ended up playing Bard, and then in a different game, I think they played Shen, and Impact is really good on Shen. I mean, he's a really good tank player, like bluejay mentioned, and he's also just a very proactive player. Like I think everyone knows this. It's not like a secret, but he's very, vocal, and he has so much experience where I think when he has control over situations, he's really good at like kind of pressing them. So it's not like I don't doubt their ability to play aggressive, but I do think when we played them and when the last time I saw them play, they're pretty slow, and it wasn't very like. It wasn't amazing to watch. It wasn't like this second place team that I think that like kind of I imagined, right, like right below C9 or anything. It was just they're winning games that they should be winning, or maybe even shouldn't be winning, and here they are, right, at second place.
Yeah, I'm a little bit in between the two takes, I think, in terms of like how I feel about them. I definitely feel better than I did a couple weeks ago. Now that they're doing a little bit more interesting stuff with draft, their bot lane continues to do interesting things. Jensen is on a little bit more playmakers. I'm glad that they have Shen. The point was never that they needed to play exactly Wukong or something, but I was saying play Singe, play Shen, play Maokai. Like if you're gonna be the tank guy, like I'm down, but show me some. Yeah, Malphite, you know, like fuck.
True.
I don't care. If you're gonna be the tank guy, be the tank guy, but actually like lean into it a little bit more than just Orange Band, Aatrox, and just going down what felt like the tier
Yes,
list.
thank you, man. That's what
So-
I'm saying.
Yeah, so like I definitely agree on that point, and I think they've been a little bit better. Jensen worked well. He was the one actually delivering the Shen, which just felt weird to me that like your mid lane Azir is the one delivering the Shen with shuffles and stuff as opposed to someone else on the team. So I'm still a
There's
little
no one
bit
else on the team to do that, though. I think
not
Like,
really.
in that game, right?
Yeah,
In
they
that
had
game.
Trundle, and so he's not gonna fucking I don't know.
They had
W-
Lee.
what?
They had Lee, TK, Varus, I believe.
Oh, it was Lee. I mean, Lee can kind of do it just as well as
Yeah,
Azir
but
can, but
basically all those champions are kind of like awkward, right?
yeah,
Like you have a TK.
it's not a Jarvan or some shit where you EQR on top
Yeah.
of someone and it's easy. Yeah,
or even like a LeBlanc, right? Like LeBlanc Shen is a pretty good combo.
yeah, Nocturne Shen. Like fuck, there's so many Shen combos.
Yeah, yeah.
On top of that stuff, oh sorry, go ahead, Mark.
I was gonna say in the second game as well, Jensen was good about being proactive, and once again, Broxah was kind of there following up, but their synergy's not quite. He kind of like threw the top play after they chunked him out. Broxah kind of goes in by himself into the turret, and there's more people there, and like.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think I watched that one. Yeah.
Yeah, like Jensen's playing well. I'm impressed with Jensen. I think he actually is playing super well, and the bot lane's obviously playing well, and like the whole team is playing well, but they just don't seem to elevate each other, which is still like a little bit of my problem, which might come down to like the slow game plan as well, giving me a slightly negative perception of them. So I'm more optimistic than I was, but I'm a little. I think that they can still get overtaken. I don't think they're clear cuts. I think they're the second best right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone rallies or something.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think, well, first of all, it's hard for me to, keep complimenting them because I want to beat them. And I don't really want to, say too many good things. But they have good players, so them being in a second place position is totally understandable. I wouldn't want to discredit that. Like it's, it makes sense why they're second place, but I don't think they're, super special. They've definitely gone better. I think their performance this week was a lot better than last week. I actually don't remember who they played besides us. I think they played FlyQuest. Or I meant wait, was it CLG?
I think it was CLG. Am I crazy?
No, it was
Wait,
CLG,
last week?
GG. This most recent weekend was CLG and Golden Guardians, and then last week was us and FlyQuest.
Right. Sorry.
The mash int over Baron.
Yeah, so I guess I think I kind of I was thinking about their us versus us in FlyQuest. I wasn't super impressed, but I guess maybe this week their games for CLG and GG is much better. I'm not really sure.
I mean, to your point about how good all their players are, they're actually second at gold at 50 in the league behind C9. And it's a pretty big gap between them and third. And it's because it's so hard to actually get shit done against them, I think. They're really good about not giving you openings. Like someone takes a bad trade, that's an opening now for a jungler to go there, or someone to leave lane because, they can't really face check you anymore. Like they just don't feel like they make any of those mistakes, which I think is why sometimes it also slows their games down because they're not hella aggressive, but they don't give people openings to exploit them either, which is why just raw laning wise, they always have a gold lead.
Yeah, there's no weaknesses that you can really point out in terms of their players, right? You're not like trying to punish bot lane, you're not trying to punish mid, not trying to punish top for the most part, right? So I agree with that.
And the one other thing that I wanted to talk about real quick, simply on Jensen, is that I wanted to know your guys' thoughts of the difference between C9 Jensen and TL Jensen, because the aggression is the clear difference to me, but I wanted to know if you guys agreed or disagreed with that.
C9 Jensen and TL Jensen. Oh,
Yeah.
that was kind of a while ago, wasn't it? I
It
guess
was 2018. Yeah.
I do think we're potentially going off topic, but if you guys have a quick answer for it, go ahead.
I don't have a quick answer, so I'm gonna just.
My quick answer would be like maybe he felt like he had to do less individual carrying, which made him a little bit more passive when he had double lift, and now that double lift's gone, he has to relearn to be the primary carry. That would be my only quick 2-second thought on it.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thanks so much, bluejay, for calling in. Great to hear from you again, as always. Is there anything you want to say before we close out the show?
Oh yes. Okay. One thing I needed to ask Mark real quick, because you guys were talking about the start of the show. How
normally this is a shout out, so please.
Yeah, I know, but this is important. I promise this is
go.
I promise. Okay. I want to know what happens in the 3 minutes the so-called commercial break during the broadcast, because I think a lot of people don't know, and I think if people knew what's going on there, maybe they'd be more forgiving to the broadcast.
Which commercial break?
Where it's 3 minutes with two players staring at each other with a weird picture, and then it counts down to 0, and then it freezes at 0, and they're like, "Oh, let's put another 4 minutes on the clock," and you're like, "Okay, well, what's going on there?"
So the show match one was tech issues with getting High and Dyrus on the desk. Like that's a specific one where like that was extended because there was problems getting like in the remote work. No, like if this is live, you know what we fucking do? We give them a mic, and that's it. Stick a mic in front of their face. This we have this whole software backbone thing that they have to get tech checked through and brought in and all this.
Why don't they just use Zoom?
We use Discord for audio, but the video component is
Pepe laugh.
I mean, I thought they should just use Zoom.
You know what? I'll bring it up in a meeting.
You should, because you bring it up on this fucking show every goddamn week.
And it's totally a fair comparison because this is just as complicated.
Bluejay, thank you so much for the call. We will hear from you next week, I'm sure, underneath the new assumed name.
Travis, is there anything you want to say before we close?
Anyway, let's close out the show. Apollo, you got any shout-outs, plugs, anything for us?
Shout out to my teammates. They all performed really well this weekend, except for the first game. Let's not talk about the first game, just the second game. And shout outs to IMT, and shout outs to all the people that are watching, fans out there. And I'll wave at Kieran because he's been asking for me to wave. And yeah, I don't have any more shout outs.
Mark, what do you got to plug? What's going on?
I don't have anything to plug. All I have to say is Reddit threads will always boil my blood a little bit, but I'm glad to keep seeing them in the end. I'm glad to get feedback. Even when it's a stinker, like I feel like that ESPN one was, I'd still rather, I don't know. I like feedback, even if it's negative. I mean, I'm a negative person, so.
You are a negative person. Anyway, that's it for this episode. I've got a ton of cool interviews coming out this week, including one with Poom that I mentioned earlier, but please go check it out. I'm sure if you're watching this as a VOD or listening to it as a podcast, that will probably be up by then. And I'm also going to continue. I did a really great interview with Dracos, and I'm enjoying interviewing some of the LEC casters and getting to know them. And I believe this Thursday I should have one that I'm doing. We don't stream it, but I'll be recording one with Medic, so maybe that'll go up next week. I don't know, but here he's got some cool stuff that he can talk about. So either way, thanks everyone. Check out my content. Hey, subscribe to my YouTube channel, because a while ago. What?
Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say I lost some YouTube subscribers a while ago because I expressed support for certain social movements, and that offended some people, and it causes a drop in your YouTube subs and social. So if all I'm just saying is, what is it? TravisGafford.com/lewd. I think that's it. Go to TravisGafford.com/lewd and check it out. It's there's some good stuff over there. I really appreciate it.
I was gonna say, when are you launching your BookTube channel? So
that I should do that this week. Hopefully I'll do it. I think my first video is just going to be telling people what they should read, dictating to them.
Start off with one of those my favorite fantasy series, or one of those recommend ones, and then we'll do a 2-man fatty 40-minute Way of Kings review.
Either way, thanks so much to Apollo for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I know we tease you, but we love you, despite all the crazy shit that Mark says about you, both in front of and behind your back.
It's always Mark,
And for everyone else, this has been Hotline League episode 131.